layer we have seen it is going to deal with the addressing. So it is going to deal with the addressing, and then it is going to deal with the packetizing, and then it is going to deal with the routing or pathing, okay, pathfinding, and then it is going to deal with the internetworking. So these are the functions of your network layer. And then so we have seen the design issues. Under the design issues in the network layer, it is going to take care about store and forward of packet switching. So whenever the multiple routers were there, okay, it is going to store over here until it is reaching perfectly up to here. So then only it is going to discard. So like that, so it is going to use the store and forward switching, packet switching, which we are going to use over here. And then services provided to the transport layer, where we have seen the 3 services we have seen which is needed and independent of the router node. Okay, so those are the things which we have seen. How exactly it is going to be happen. Then implementation of the connectionless service, implementation of the connection oriented service, and then comparison of virtual circuit and datagram subnets. And then we have discussed about optimality principle. I hope everybody have understood that in the optimality principle, what we said in the sense, when you are going to send some information to I2J, okay, I2, I hope maybe I have explained over here the optimality principle over here yesterday, which we discussed this. Okay, so now the point is, when you are going to send any information, whenever you want to send some information from I to K, okay, and there exists a better route, okay, which is going to be via from J. Okay, so whenever you want to send from I to K, there exists a route, a better route from J to K, okay, from I. So then I'm going to name this I to J as R1, J to K as R2. And when I'm going to talk about R1, R2 as optimal route, okay, and where this J and K is also following on the same path. Yes, following on the same path. Now, if there exists a better route than R2, better route than R2, say some X, then what your optimality principle is going to say, this X need to be concatenated to R1 instead of R2 if X is the better route than R2. Okay, so this is the optimality principle. Okay, so but everybody have understood the optimality principle?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now, based on this optimality principle, today we are going to discuss about the shortest path routing. So now, before the shortest path routing, okay, now here I would like to discuss some important point over here. Okay, so one important point when we are going to talk about the shortest path routing, which one I can see it is the shortest path? See, the number of nodes. If suppose I am going to talk about some things, okay, now here if you are going to look at that, the concept of shortest path deserves some explanation. Okay, what is the meaning of a shortest path? Now you imagine ABC and ABE, total both are having how many nodes? ABC and ABE is having how many nodes?
3.
3, absolutely. If suppose I am going to say A, B, okay, and so here I am going to take C. Now let us consider another one like A, B, and E. Okay, now so both are having the 3 nodes only. Now which one is shortest? Means if I am going, the shortest is based on the number of nodes. When you are having the same number of nodes, how can you say which is the shortest? That was the reason. So here you have to understand, okay, then this is our not only one metric we can take it, okay, because both are having equally long, but another metric is geographical distance in kilometers. Now imagine if you are going to look at, okay, if you are going to look at ABC and if you are going to look at ABE, which one is short? Which one is short? Out of these two, which one is short?
AB.
ABE. ABE is short because ABC, if you are going to look at how many kilometers, 2 plus 7, 9. 2 plus 7, 9. ABE is how much? A to B, 2, B to E, 2. So this is how much? 4. If you are going to talk about these are the kilometers, okay, here if you are going to say kilometer, then we are going to say that in which case ABC is longer than ABE. So, dear friends, always please, yesterday we have discussed that, always we cannot say that if the number of nodes, okay, based on the number of nodes. Now you see, both the number of nodes are same. Both are having the same 3 nodes only. But ultimately when we are going to look at, okay, but when we are going to take the distance, okay, when we are going to take the distance or kilometers or whatever it may be, okay, we can call it as a weights, okay. So when we are going to take this distance into the matter, ABC is longer than ABE. So where I can say that ABE is the shortest. ABE is the shortest. Now, so that is nothing but, so many other metrics are also available besides hops and physical distance are also possible. These are the not only 2 metrics, but here we will take this particular thing. So one is, see, another one is like we are going to say that delay, the mean delay of standard test packet, how much time it is going to take. One is kilometer I am talking about, another one distance I am going to talk about, another one delay I am going to talk about. There are so many are there, okay, based on that you can say which one is the fastest path or which one is the shortest path, okay, which you can reach fastly or safely. So now here, the out of all these things, one very important, okay, one very important algorithm which we are going to discuss to compute the shortest path, okay, based on this one of the criteria, that is, we are going to discuss one of the very important algorithm called Dijkstra algorithm. What is that? Which algorithm? Which algorithm? I'm asking you, which algorithm? Dijkstra algorithm.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So there are number of parameters which are there. Out of that, we are going to take some criteria like this, okay, taking the weighting function, okay, or distance, okay. Based on that, we are going to do that. So how we can do this particular thing? Let us have the example, okay. Now, if I'm going to take this, now this is a node, how to compute the shortest path routing from A to D? What is our problem? How we can compute the shortest path from A to D? Okay. Now let us follow the first diagram. When A is there, A is having how many neighbors? 2 neighbors. Okay. This is the initial diagram where we have assigned some weights or distances, you can say. Okay. Now based on that, now I want to compute from source to this destination. When I want to compute this, now A, I'm going to start from here. I'm going to start from A. So A is having only the 2 edges. One is the B and G directly connected. So now here, what I'm going to do in the sense, okay, I can reach to B via A. What is the distance? 2. So I'm going to write this as 2 of A. And whereas A can reach to G via A, distance is 6, comma A. So this is in the first go. What is happening over here? B is 2 comma A, G is 6 comma A. Fine. Now, once A is completed, now you can come back to the B. Now, B is having how many edges? B is having again E and C. Now, B to C, how much? So, 7. And so, A to C, how much? 7 plus 2? 9. So, I can reach via B, okay. So, how much distance? 9. From A to C, I can reach within 9 distance and via B. Next, B to E is 2, A to E is 2, so 4. Then here I can say this is 4, okay, 4 via B. So in this third diagram, if you are going to look at that, see, B is computing 2 to A. So B is already computed over here. So from the B to C we have computed, E we have computed. Okay. So now these are completed. But now here if you are going to look at that, when E is there, now it is the turn of E and G. Okay. But when you are going to look at E, now what is happening? A to B to E to G, how much it is coming? 2 plus 2 plus 1. See, I will write over here, you see. Now you can have a look at A to B is how much? 2. Then B to E is how much? 2. Then E to G, how much? 1. See, you can have a look at over here. Here you are able to look at. Okay. So now what is happening? If suppose there are the roots are available, okay, when I am going to talk about this, A to G directly how much? 6 via A. But now according to this, okay, according to this, now A to B to E to G, how much? 5 only. You can have a look at 2 plus 2 plus 1. How much it is? 5. So now what is happening over here? So 5 is the shortest comparing to this. So I do not want to take the number of nodes into account, even though more number of nodes are there, but the distance is less. So in the next go, what I am going to do in the sense, see, what I am going to do in the sense, now here, if you are going to look at that, I am changing this as per the optimality principle. If there exists a better route than R2, that route should be concatenated to the particular things, your path. So now A to G, not directly, so A to G is this. A to G is this. So like that, when you are going to compute remaining all nodes, when you will compute remaining all nodes, then so you are going to find how you can reach to A to D. Now here if you are going to look at that, what are the D? So now here you can have a look at that. What is there? 3 and 2. Okay, now here 3 is there. Here 2 is there. Okay. So now 9 plus 3, 12. 8 plus 2, 10. So which one is the shortest? A to H. Okay. A to H. So to D. But how you are going to reach to H? Via F. How you are going to come to the F? Via E. How you are coming to the via E? B. So now full-fledgedly you are going to write. So now you need to do a backtracking of over here. See, the first point is D. You need to reach to D. How you are going to come to the D? So 8 plus 2, 10. This is 9 plus 3, 11. So what we are going to say? 10 is the shortest. So I am going to say H. So H is coming from where? F. F is coming what? E. E is coming from via B. So B is coming from A. So now, dear friends, so when you are going to look at, okay, so A, B, E, F, H, D is the shortest path. Is the shortest. Okay, so this is how you are going to identify this. Okay, now here if you are going to sorry, so here if we will come back, you can have a look at. So now here they are going to write the shortest path when we are going to look at that. Okay, so here they have explained how they are taking some other things. So see E experiment and all. So finally you are going to compute the shortest path to that particular thing. Okay, so this is how you are going to compute the shortest path algorithm using the Dijkstra algorithm, using the Dijkstra algorithm or that. Okay, so this is how exactly we are going to compute it. Any doubts? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Is it clear? Post in the chat. Everyone post in the chat. Why everyone is not responding? Be fast so that I can explain the next algorithm. Okay, so thank you. So the next algorithm which we are going to discuss is flooding. We are going to discuss is flooding. Here another important point which I would like to show to you people. Oh. The next algorithm is flooding, which is one of the broadcast routing algorithms which is going to be used for the broadcasting. Okay, means whenever you want to send it any message to everyone, this is one of the technique where you are going to do that. Okay, what is the meaning of flooding? Everyone please note down a simple terminology which we are going to use for this is this. Okay, this is the technique of your flooding, in which every incoming packet is sent out on every outgoing line except the one it arrived on. What is flooding? In which every incoming packet is sent out on every outgoing line except the one it arrived on. Is it clear or shall I explain in detail? The definition of flooding is clear or shall I explain?
Sir, again, sir.
Okay, Srikar. Now, okay, what I will do in a sense, okay, 1 minute. So let me draw a simple, okay, let me draw a simple notes, okay. Okay, let us take the network is like this. Okay, I'm going to do okay, let us take a simple way of this particular things. Now what I will do in a sense, simply here, if suppose we are going to name this as 1, this as, oh sorry, so this is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have taken a network with 9 nodes. Okay. Let us consider the node 1, A, wants to send a packet, incoming packet. Okay. See, this is the incoming. So 1 minute. I will draw it in a very good manner. So I will take a shape. Now let us consider okay. So let us consider now the packet is coming over here. The packet is coming over here. So whenever it is coming over here, okay, now please try to understand very clearly. What is the rule is saying? What is the rule is saying? In which every incoming packet is sent out on every outgoing line except the one it arrived on. See, every incoming packet, this is a incoming packet, has to be sent out on every outgoing line. Every outgoing line is what? From 1, this is there and this is there, except 1 it is arrived on. So now the point is 1 is not sending to this, 1 is not sending on this link. Okay, now so now what is happening? Now let us consider 1 is sent to 2, 1 is sent to 3. Now let us look at 2 has received it. Now what 2 is going to do? 2 is going to send it to 4, 2 is sending it to 5, 2 is sending it to 3, because it is received it from 1. It is received it from 1. So now 2 is having 3 output lines, it is send it. Now let us look at 3. Now what 3 is going to do? 3 is also sending to 5, 3 is sending to 6, 3 is sending to 2. So don't get confused. It is replying to the packet which it is received from 1 and that it is sending to 2. Whatever it is received from 2, that it is sending to 1. Okay. Now the same way what 4 is going to do? Now 4 is going to send it to 7 and it is going to send it to 5, and now 5 is receiving it. Now 5 has received it from 2 and it is sending it to A, and 5 has received it from 4, it is sending it to 7. 7 is received it from 4 and 7 is sending back to 5, and when 7 has received it from 5, it is sending back to 4. Now like this, what is happening? So everyone, whatever it is receiving, everyone is sending to other. Okay, now after some time, what is going to be happen? So your network is having the full of flood, full of packets. Okay, so now what is going to be happen? Which may lead to congestion. It may lead to congestion. So due to congestion, now your network is having a flooding. So this is what exactly you have to understand what is flooding. Is it clear? What is flooding you have understood. But here one important point is what is happening when you are sending it, everyone is getting the information or not, every node is receiving the data or not. Every node is receiving the data. Every node is going to receive the data, including which has sent, even it is also getting back. Now, the ultimately important point is, this is a simple way we can say that, okay, I can broadcast, everyone is going to receive. I can say a simple way, the broadcast, I can do that. I can send, whenever I want to send any message to everyone in the node in this, so simply I can use flooding. So simply each one is going to get it and it is going to send it to the outlines, except to the one it has arrived on and all. But what is going to be happen? So all these whatever I have drawn are known as the duplicate packets. What is happening when 2 is received, it is duplicating it and it is sending the 4 and 5 and 3. When it is received from 1, 3 is duplicating and it is sending to the 2 and 5 and 6. The point is, now here you need to understand the very important point over here. Okay, so flooding obviously generate vast number of duplicate packets. In fact, an infinite number unless some measures are taken to dump the process. Otherwise, what is going to be happen? So as I have drawn over here, so now you can imagine, so all these are the packets. Simply the flooding is going to be completed, and sometime the point what is happening in the sense, the network is not in a position to handle it and your network may collapse. So we need to take a mechanism of that. We need to take a mechanism of that. So for that particular thing we are going to discuss. But first, what is flooding? You have understood, everyone, please post in the chat. Any doubts? Everyone have understood flooding or not? Respond in the chat.
Yes, sir.
Srikar? Anyone are having any doubt? Paridhi?
Yes, sir, I'm here. I responded, sir.
Is it clear? I am asking.
Yes, sir.
So now let us discuss how we are going to overcome. How we are going to overcome the problem of this flooding. Okay. So the first one is one measure is to have a hop counter. Okay. Hop counter is nothing but, let us consider, okay, I'm going to take, if this is a packet, okay, so once if it is coming over here, I'm keeping it. So next, if I will keep the counter, I will keep this as 1. So total how many nodes are there? 9. So the moment, if suppose the moment if I am sending to the second node, now here the counter need to be decreased. So either you can increase or either you can decrease it. See, in this case, I am going to keep 9. Now, when it is coming over here, I will do that. Now this is 8. When it is coming over here, okay, I will keep it as 7. I will decrease. Okay. So the same way, when it is going to reach over here, 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 and here, when it is coming over here, at the end, what is going to be happen? 9 minus 9, 0. So it should be discarded. It should be discarded. Now that is nothing but, now every node has received the packet or not? Yes. Now that is what exactly you have to understand. One such measure is to have a hop counter contained in the header of each packet that is decremented at each hop. So with the packet being discarded when the counter is 0, when the counter is 0. So ideally, what is this hop counter? Is the number of nodes initialized to the length of the network, length of the path from source to destination. So source to destination, when you are going to take, so total is 9, or how you are going to say that. Based upon that, you are going to take that. Okay. So if the sir, what is the source to destination and whether it is going to cover all the nodes or not, we do not know. How we have to do that? Don't worry. If the sender does not know how long the path is, then it can initialize the counter to the worst case. What is the worst case? Namely, the full diameter of the network. What is the full diameter of the network over here? So which is going to be 1 to 9 nodes. So this is the 9 which I have taken over here. So that is what exactly. When you do not know, don't worry. So only what is the full length is there, that you can keep it that. So this is one important aspect over here. Okay. So is everybody have understood the first important point over here? Everyone have understood this hop counter, which we are going to measure it to that and all. Second one, once if it is done, then second one, what is going to be happen in the sense, okay. So flooding with a hop count can produce an exponential number of duplicate packet. So if I'm going to keep a hop count, what is going to happen? Now it is coming to that, but 2 again it should do. See, this is one mechanism, it is discarding. I am taking a discarding policy. But the point, what is happening? The moment if 9 is receiving, 9 what it has to send? It has to send it to 8 again. Because what is flooding is saying that every incoming packet is supposed to be duplicated and it should be sent out. So again it is going to keep 9 and it is sending that. So exponential number of duplicate packets as the hop count grows, and routers duplicate packets, they have been before. So now in this particular thing, so this one is not going to work properly. So we need to look at a better technique. What is the better technique? Is damming the flood is to have routers keep track of which packets have been flooded. Means what I'm going to do. So here at every router, I will maintain a routing table. Now, in the routing table, whenever this particular packet is arriving from A, what I will do in the sense, I will mark out over here. Whatever it is getting it from B, I will mark it. Once if it is arrived, next time I will not do that. Only one time I will take it and I will make an entry in my routing table. Next time I will not do that. So I will discard it. So that I would like to control this flood. Okay. So now here you can have a look at that. The better technique for damming the flood is to have router keeps track of which packet have been flooded. So if it is a flooded packet, it is coming, so it should be discarded to avoid sending them out a second time. So one way to achieve this goal, immediately you will get a doubt, sir, how we are going to do that? One way to achieve this goal is to add, okay, see, to have the source router put a sequence number in each packet it receives from its hosts. Okay, and if that sequence number, if it is receiving it again, what is going to be happen? Simply it is going to discard it. So, but here what is going to happen? Then each router then needs a list per source router telling which sequence numbers originated at the source have already been seen. So now here again some knowledge is required for each and every router. Okay. So if incoming packet is on the list, it is not flooded. But if suppose it should have that knowledge of that. So that was the reason we need to go for another mechanism. Okay. So now furthermore, the full list below K is not needed since K is effectively summarizes it. So comparing the sequence number to k, I'm going to keep that. Okay. So one more mechanism, what we are going to say in the sense, I will keep a sequence number as 10. Anything which is coming less than 10, so I need not to float it. I can simply discard it. I'm going to keep a sequence number, and I'm going to update in my table instead of maintaining all the sequence numbers and all. What I'm going to do in the sense, only the progressive sequence number which I'm going to use it, and below of that sequence number k, if it is going to get it, so simply it is going to discard it. Okay, but still here if you are going to look at that, floating is not practical for sending most packets, but it does not have some important uses. Okay, but it does have some important uses, as I told that broadcasting when you want to do like that. Okay, so first it ensures that packet is delivered to every node in the network, and this may be wasteful if there is a single destination that needs the packet, but it is effective for broadcasting information, which I have mentioned to you people that you can have a look at that, which is very important over here. So this is the way how we are going to do in that particular first important point. Then in the wireless networks also we are going to do that. Okay, in the wireless networks also we are going to do this. Okay, so how we are going to do? So here we are going to take that all messages transmitted by a station can be received by all other stations within its radio range. Within its radio range. In the wireless, when we are going to talk about, whenever you are going to take the radio range, and whoever is there in this radio range, everyone is going to receive it. Every node, whoever is there in this are able to receive it. Okay, so this is how exactly is going to be happen in the floating. Then another one is the second. First one we have seen how we are going to counter. Okay, the second one, what we are going to do in the sense, even if large number of routers are blown to bits, okay, floating will find path if one exists to get the packet to its destination. So what we are going to do, a simple setup is supposed to be needed. What you need to do in the sense, each router should know about their neighbors. Routers only need to know about their neighbors. It may not require to find out the complete information about the network, only about its neighbors. Okay, so now with that, what I'm going to do in the sense, the floating can be used to building the blocks of other routing algorithms that are more efficient but need more in the way of setup. Okay, so that was the reason. So we are not going to use the second one, but we are going to use the first one. Is a very easily. Okay, but we will see that how we are going to use this floating in the further things. But this is the first one, how we are going to counter attack. I hope maybe you have understood. And here, if you are going to look at that in your textbook, there is a program also given to find the Dijkstra algorithm to compute the shortest path. Okay, so this is the Dijkstra algorithm, and that is floating. Okay, so dear friends, so now here everyone please tell me, floating have understood everyone? Put it in the chat box. Everyone have understood floating? Yes, Srikar, Paridhi, Vivek.
Yes, sir.
Have you understood
Yes, sir.
floating? So the next algorithm which we are going to discuss is distance vector routing algorithm. The next algorithm is distance vector routing algorithm. Dear friends, this is one of the very interesting algorithm. Even we are going to call it as a Bellman-Ford algorithm. Okay, we are going to call it as a Bellman-Ford algorithm also. See, Bellman-Ford algorithm. When you are going to talk about the Bellman-Ford algorithm or distance vector, see, Bellman-Ford algorithm, distance vector routing. A distance vector routing protocol require. So we are going to discuss that. See, here we are going to call this as the things, and all you are aware of that. So our first internet is ARPANET, which is based on this particular thing. As and today also we are using this particular distance vector routing algorithm. How we are going to compute this? Okay. So I will explain it. Please, you can look at so that easily you can understand what is the distance vector routing algorithm. So, but first important point you have to understand. Okay. Couple of points. We have said that static routing algorithms and dynamic routing algorithms, out of that one we have seen the shortest path routing algorithm, and then we have discussed about the flooding, okay, for broadcasting. And now when you are going to look at that dynamic routing algorithms, okay, so computer networks generally use the dynamic routing algorithms, because static routing algorithms is nothing but every time the system administrator need to check which node is up and which node and all, and only one time it should keep it, and so that is a tedious task. Okay, so now flooding is also there, so you can ask that flooding, but the point is in the flooding what is happening, always you need to take some extra bit of effort to control that flood. Okay, but it is going to have a good advantage when you want to send the message to everyone but not to a intended recipient. Okay, only the intended destination. Okay, so now the point is, see, that are more complex than flooding but more efficient because they find shortest paths for the current topology. So here these are very good than flooding, which is going to be used to find the shortest paths. Okay, so here we will discuss the two dynamic algorithms in this. Okay, so one is the distance vector routing algorithms, okay, and another one is the link state routing algorithm. Okay, so very importantly we will discuss about that in this. Now first we will look at the distance vector algorithm. So what is the distance vector algorithm? See, the name itself is suggesting the distance. You need to calculate the distance, and based on that you need to do that. Okay, so a distance vector routing algorithm operates by having each router maintains a table. First point you need to understand, each router maintains a table. What table is going to contain? Giving the best known distance for to each destination, okay, and which link to use to get there. Now this is what you need to understand. Every node in this algorithm, every router is going to maintain a table. The table is going to contain the information to all other nodes in the network, and what is the distance and how you can reach. Now these tables are updated by exchanging information with the neighbors. Okay, so every router knows the best link to each destination. So this distance vector, sometimes called as Bellman-Ford, and even which was used, it was the original ARPANET routing algorithm. Okay, and also used in the internet under the name of routing information protocol. In the internet, how the routing is going to be happen, how it is going to find the shortest path based on this particular Bellman-Ford algorithm or distance vector routing algorithm. So in this distance vector routing algorithm, what we are going to say, each router is going to maintain a table, and in this table it is going to maintain the distance, and it is going to tell that how you are going to reach to that particular router. Okay, how much distance, via how you can reach, and that information is going to be there, and each router is going to exchange these particular tables to update their distances to reach to the other neighbors. Okay, anyhow, we will see an example how we are going to do that. Okay, so let us look at what is the distance vector and how it is going to be happen. Everyone are able to view this? Everyone are able to view this? So now this is a table. This is your network. You can take this as your network. Okay, so your network is having how many routers? So 4, 4, 4. So total 12 are there. Total 12. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Okay. Now let us consider a router J wants to construct its table. A router J wants to construct its table. When a router wants to construct its table, okay, so now what I need to do, who are the neighbors of J? So you need to find first who are the neighbors of who are the neighbors. Okay. So who are the adjacent nodes to the J? Neighbors of J is who? One is J A, another one is J I, another one is J K, another one is J H. Have a look at. See, J to A, J to I, J to H, J to K. Now you imagine when I want to send any information from J to any of the nodes over here, J is having only the possibility of the things. Either it can reach via I, via A, via H, via K. Okay? A, I, H, K only it can. So in that particular situation, now what it is going to do in the sense, according to the distance vector, what we said, every router maintains table. So what J is going to do, J is requesting A, I, H, K to announce their tables. So A is announcing its table, I is announcing its table, H is announcing its table, K is announcing its table. And then J notes that what is the delay between J to A? What is the delay? J to A is 8. What is the delay between J to I? 10. What is the delay between J to H? 12. J to K? 6. Now, directly if J table when I want to compute, directly the best routes are this. So, you take J to A 8, then J to I you take 10, and then J to H take 12, and J to K, where is K? Over here, 6. J to J is 0. So now simply what is happened in the J table, it is found the routes for A is completed, and then H is completed, I is completed, J to J is completed, and K is completed. So now it need to compute this J to B. How it should compute J to B? Now you can have a look at it. So if J is need to compute to B, what are the possibilities are having? Only the possibility is J to A to B, okay, then J to I to B, then J to K to B, then J to H to B, because J is having only these neighbors. Okay, now J to A, it knows its things. What is the J to A? 8 plus A to B is how much? 12. Now, let us come back to J to I. What is J to I? 10. What is I to B? You can have a look at I to B. 36. 36. Then J to K, 6 plus K to B is how much? 28. Now J to H is how much? 12 plus H to B is how much? 31. Now let us take, okay, let us total it, sum it. So 8 plus 12, 20. 10 plus 36 is 46. 28 plus 6, 34. Then 31 plus 12, 43. Now, tell me that which one is shortest? Vivek? Srikar? Which one is shortest?
20, sir.
20. So, now it is writing that J can reach to B with the 20 distance via A. Now you have understood how to compute? Now you can compute to all remaining nodes. So now this is how the distance vector routing algorithm is going to work and it is going to generate the distances by finding the information from its neighbors. Any doubts? Post in the chat immediately. Any doubt? Everybody have understood the distance vector? Rashri, it is clear?
Yes, sir.
Any problem you have identified over there while I am explaining?
No, sir, it's clear.
No, there is one problem in the distance vector, whether you are able to predict. That is our next topic, and which is a very important question.
Yes, sir.
So, distance vector is very good when you are going to have small number of nodes, when you are going to have a limited number of nodes. Okay. But which is going to have a problem. That problem is count to infinity problem. Okay, and the distance vector is going to work very fast for good news, and it is going to work very slowly for bad news. It is going to work very slow for the bad news. Okay, anyhow, this particular count to infinity problem I am going to explain later. Okay, but here you please try to keep it in your mind, and which is going to react very fast for good news, and which is going to react very slow for bad news. Okay, this is, you can have a look at over here. So see, reacts rapidly to good news and but leisurely to bad news. So what is this count to infinity problem? We will discuss in tomorrow's class, and then we will go to the link state routing protocol. Okay, so dear friends, in today's class we have completed, these are the 4 things which we have completed. Any doubt? Any doubt? So thank you all for attending, and please prepare once you read these, which is going to be very useful to you. Okay, so this is what exactly for the today's class. As I mentioned, the 3 algorithms which I am going to explain: optimality principle, shortest path, flooding, and how we are going to countermeasure the damming, means flooding, of how we are going to control the flooding by keeping a hop counter or by maintaining the table. Okay, and then we have discussed the distance vector routing algorithm. Okay, so please practice once, and so which will be useful for that. And tomorrow's class we are going to discuss count to infinity problem, link state routing protocol, hierarchical routing protocol, and other broadcast routing protocols. Okay, thank you.